Dear students, welcome to Module 7 lecture video. This module is about liability recognition and non-owner financing. The first problem we would like to solve is question 4. In this module, we will use financial calculator to solve some of the problems. In question 4, what we have here is on January 1 of the current year, Truman Corporation issued $700,000 of 20-year 11% bonds for $647,338, yielding a market yield rate of 12%. Interest is payable semi-annually on June 30 and December 31. Confirm the bond issue price. Round answers to the nearest whole number. So we have to find out the present value of principal repayment, present value of interest payment, and selling price of the bond. So first of all, this company issued $700,000 of 20-year bond. So this is the amount we call face value. So the face value of the bond is $700,000. So this is the amount to be paid at the end of the maturity. So for our financial calculator, we'll also use it as future value. The second thing it says, it is a 20-year bond. So we know that a number of years is 20, and the maturity is 20 years. 11% bonds. So that means annual coupon is 11%. Yielding a market, also called yield rate of 12%. So that basically means annual market yield rate is equal to 12%. So annual coupon, so this is fixed, but interest rate in the market changes continuously all the time. And this changing interest rate in the market is called market rate or yield. In this problem, interest is payable semi-annually. So that basically means our maturity is equal to 20 years, 20 times 2 is equal to 40 semi-annual period. We have to find out the present value of principal repayment. So to answer the first question, so principal, we have to pay the future value is equal to 700,000. Now in our calculator, we will use financial calculator for this problem. There are specific keys we need to use. For example, this row of keys, N means number of periods, I over Y, so that means interest rate. This is PV, present value. PMT, this is a recurring payment. This is the future value. So we have to find out the present value of principal repayment. So you have to find out this PV. And the future value is 700,000. But note, this company borrowed money. So when it repays, it will be a cash outflow for the company. So I'll enter a negative sign. I'll do one more thing. I will follow the sequence of these keys. So our N is equal to 40, we already calculated. And then our I over Y. So interest is payable semi-annually. And this interest rate is a market interest rate. It is 12%. So 12 divided by 2, it will be 6. For our financial calculator purposes, we will ignore the percent sign. The next key we have is PV. We have to find out PV, present value. So we'll skip that. Next is payment. Now, our payment is cash payment per period. So which is our face value. It doesn't change. So face value times annual coupon rate divided by 2. So our face value is 700,000 times our annual coupon, 11%. So which will be 38,500. Now, the company borrowed money, so the annual coupon will be also a negative amount for this company. So I'll enter a negative sign. So this will be a negative sign. And then our future value is 700,000. Now, note one more thing here. We are calculating the present value of the principal repayment. So in this case, we are focusing only on the present value of this amount, assuming there are no payment. So we will, for the first problem, we'll use payment is equal to 0. So, but we will use this amount when we calculate the present value of interest payments. So to answer our first question, present value of principal repayment, Our n is equal to 40. So this does not change. I over y is equal to 6. And our payment is equal to 0 because we are focusing only on the principal. And then our future value is equal to negative 700,000. And we have to find out present value. So first what we will do, we'll press this key, CPT, that means compute, CPT, and then we'll press present value because that is what we are calculating. So PV. If you do this, you should get, I will calculate it in my calculator and write the number down. It will be 68,056, nearest whole number. So 68,056. So I will copy paste here. Now, the next part of the problem, present value of interest payments. So this is our question 4. For present value of interest payments, our n and y, I over y does not change. I'll just copy paste here. PMT is the one that we have to calculate. So I'll skip PMT. Now, because we are focusing only on the interest payments, our present value will be 0. Our future value is as before. Future value in this case also 0 because we are focusing only on the interest payments. So, and then CPT, we want to find out PV. So if we do this, we should get I made a mistake here. So our present value is what we have to find out. Our payment is, we have to calculate the payment. Actually, we did it already. So I'll just copy paste from here, negative 38,500. Future value is 0 again, because we are focusing on the interest payment. Now let us do this. So depending on your calculator, you have to enter this number first and then press the respective key. So 40 and then press N. And your display should show N is equal to 40. So you should see this equal to sign. Otherwise, it may mean the number has not been entered into or recorded in the calculator. you should get 579,282. I'll copy this. And paste here. Now, what we have done, we have found out how much the company is going to pay for borrowing this much today. $647,338. So they paid $700,000 at the end of the maturity, which is at the end of 20 years. That is one-time payment. And they also paid $38,500 each year, each semi-annual period for 40 semi-annual periods. In other words, for 20 years. So if we calculate the present value of this, first of all, the present value of principal repayment is $68,056. So this is the present value of the $700,000 paid at the end of 20th year. The second amount is a present value of all these interest payments, fixed interest payments paid for 20 years at the end of each semi-annual period. So 40 payments. So these are the total payments made, and that is the price of the bond. So we just have to add these two amounts. So you should get the same number, 647,338. Okay. Now part B, indicate the financial statement effects using the template for bond issuance. So part 1 is bond issuance. So when a company issue bond, it basically means it is selling bond. In other words, it is borrowing money. So how much money did this company get? It got $647,338. So that increased the cash assets of this company. So I'll paste it here. It also created a liability for the company because this company has to pay off this amount at the end of 20 years. So liability will also increase by the same amount. It doesn't have any impact on income statement. Question 2, semi-annual interest payment and discount amortization. Okay, semi-annual interest payment. Now, remember, our cash payment is this amount. This is the fixed payment. So I'll copy this, Control-C, and paste here, negative. So that is the amount the company is paying every 6-month period. So that will reduce the cash. Now, because the bond is selling at a discount, that means the price of the bond is less than the face value of the bond. So that is what is called a discount bond. Because it is selling at a discount, its interest expense will be different from the cash interest expense. Its interest expense on the income statement will be different from the cash interest expense. So what we have to do to find out interest expense, and it is as of June 30. So first 6 months. So interest expense on the income statement, I'll write down. So it will be carrying value of the bond multiplied by market rate. Now we have to divide by 2 because it is a semi-annual bond and we are calculating interest expense for 6 months. So our carrying amount is 647,338. And our market rate is 12%, all divided by 2. So if you do this, you should get 38,840. So that is your interest expense for income statement. So this will increase the expense. So this amount will increase the expense, or expense will increase by this amount. So that means net income will decrease by this amount. So that basically means also our earned capital will all decrease by this amount. Now we know that the total asset side must equal to liabilities and shareholders' equity side. On the left-hand side, we have subtracted 38,500. On the right-hand side, we have subtracted a larger amount. So the difference between these two is our liabilities. That is coming from the discount amortization. So our discount amortization will be this negative 38,500. And then minus 38,840. So this minus will be plus, resulting in 340. So that will increase the liability, or liability will increase by the amount of the amortized discount. And as we do that for 20 years, we'll arrive at a total liability of $700,000. Now let's move on to question 3, semi-annual interest payments and discount amortization on December 31st. Okay, so after 6 more months. So our cash interest payment does not change. Now, but in case of income statement, we need the carrying amount of the bond, carrying value of the bond. So carrying value of the bond is 647 plus 340. So if we add these two, And interest expense on income statement will be this amount times our market rate, which is 12% as before. So times 0.12 divided by 2, which is 38,861 up to 1 decimal place. So our expenses will increase by this amount, and our net income will decrease by this amount. Because net income is decreasing by this amount, our earned capital will also decrease by this amount. The difference between these two is the amount of the liabilities or discount amortization. $361. So this is the end of question 4. I'll move to question 5. So this company purchased new manufacturing facilities, assumes a 10-year mortgage of $5 million. The annual interest rate on the mortgage is 5.5%. Payments are at the end of each year. Determine the mortgage payment that Fulton Corporation must make each year. So it is asking how much is the payment on your calculator. So our N in this case is 10 years. Payments are made at the end of each year, so it will not change. So 10. Next variable I over Y, the interest rate is 5.5%. So 5.5 for calculator will skip the percent sign. And then our present value is equal to 5 million. So this is how much this company is getting by borrowing. And our payment is what we have to find out. Our future value will be 0. This company wants to pay off this entire $5 million. So if we do this and compute PMT, we should get, I'll do this in the calculator, in the financial calculator. you should get 663,339. Up to 1 decimal place. Up to the round to the nearest dollar. I mean, 663,339. So I'll copy this. Now, next question is asking, use Excel to prepare a mortgage amortization schedule for 10 years. So I will download the Excel file. So this is the Excel file. So enter rate and par. So enter rate and par, that means number of total mortgage payments, and PV, the mortgage amount. Enter PV as a negative number. To compute PMT, click on Formulas tab. Okay. So our rate is 5.5. Our NPAR is number of periods, is number of years. Our present value, so it says enter PV amount as a negative number. Okay. $5 million. Now to calculate PMT, previously we have used the financial calculator, but we can also use formulas in Excel. But in the test and in the quiz, you have to know how to solve these this kind of problems using financial calculator. So you need to know both. So PMT. So this rate, I'll highlight or select this cell, followed by comma, and par this, present value this, future value will be 0 because this company wants to pay off the entire loan, comma. Now, there are two options, 0 and 1. 0 is for the end of the period. So that basically means if the payments, the mortgage payments or the recurring payments are happening at the end of the period, we will select 0. If the payments are at the beginning of the period, we will use number 1. In this case, the question says the mortgage payments are at the end of each year. So we will select 0. Close and enter. So this is our payment. And this is how much balance is owing, the company is owing. Now, at the end of first year, we have to calculate interest at 5.5% on balance owing. How much is the interest? So I have to select the balance multiplied by this 5.5%. And then I will log this cell. So what that basically means, I will need $sign in front of C, which is the column name, and also in front of the number 5, which is the row number. You can also use the key F4 on your keyboard, depending on the type of keyboard you are using and the computer you are using. If F4 doesn't work, you can manually enter the $signs like I did. So what this does, again, it locks the cell. And why we need to lock the cell? Because we are going to pull down this formula. Now hit enter. So I will pull down this formula. we don't have any amount because if you double click on this, we don't have any amount here. And this is staying, this cell is not moving, but this cell that was selected previously has come down because we didn't lock this cell. We locked only 5.5%. Okay. Now, principal reduction. So this is how much the company is paying every year, and it includes this much of interest, and the remaining or the difference is how much is going towards paying off the balance. So I'll find out the difference between annual payment and the interest. And then I can find this plus sign at the bottom right corner and double click on this. And then my principal reduction will be then my previous balance minus the principal reduction. My balance owing will be this. Hit enter. And then I can pull down this way, or I can also just double click on this plus sign. So you see at the end of the 10th year, it is 0. The loan has been totally paid off. So at the end of the first year, so question or part C of this question, at the end of first year, what amount will Fulton include as current maturities of long-term debt? So current maturities of long-term debt means the amount or liability that is due at the end of first year or within the first year. So it is at the end of first year, this company will have a balance this much, and then it has to pay off total this much. Out of this is the interest expense, and this is the principal reduction. And current maturities of long-term debt means how much principal of the total loan or total principal is being paid off within the next year. So it will be 409,697. Now, one more thing I would like to clarify here. Going back to your calculator, I will go ahead and calculate this amount again. I want to show that we can also find out this amount from the financial calculator. For example, let me first calculate or find out the value of payment as before using the financial calculator. So after you find out this amount, you'll press the second key. If you remember, this is the second key. And then you'll press FV, which will activate the amortization feature of the calculator. So second FV, which basically means amortization. And then on your screen, you will see P1. Now, I want to find out at the end of the first year, what amount will Fulton include as current maturities of long-term debt. So what I will do, I will enter number 2 and then press the key enter. Press the key enter so that what we have here is P1 is equal to 2 on the display. And then I'll press the down arrow key, which is this key. This is the down arrow, this is the up arrow. So press the down arrow key. You should see P2. So now for P2 also enter number 2 and then press the enter key so that on calculator display it shows P2 is equal to 2. And then you'll enter the down arrow again, this down arrow. So you should see it says balance. Let me go back to our Excel file. You will see that at the end of second year, your balance is 420,196.3.68. So we found out the balance. And then press the down arrow one more time, you'll see principal, PRN. So that means principal repayment, which is this amount. So at the end of the first year, so that means we are talking about what will happen during the second year. That was the reason we entered number 2 for P1 and P2. So P1 means what is the starting point, P2 means what is the ending point. So 2 means beginning of second year, this 2 means end of second year. And during this period, what happened was this is the amount that will be, or that needs to be paid off as principal reduction. So this is the end of question 5. Let me move on to question 6. Question 6, interpreting bond footnote disclosure and company effective interest rate. We have a bond that was issued on May 7, 2019, issue amount 1 million. So that is the face value. Annual coupon rate 1%, maturity is on May 17, 2027. So we have 8 years. Issue price. Now issue price, you see, it is 99.534% of the face value or issue amount. So the present value is actually 99.534% of this amount, not 100%. So that basically means it is a discount bond. The market price or selling price of the bond in the market now is lower than the face value. It is a discount bond. Determine the annual interest payment. So the annual interest payment is equal to our face value times our annual coupon rate, 1%, 0.01. So which will be 10 million. We did not divide by 2 because it is talking about annual interest payment. Second question, determine the effective interest rate. Round percentage to 3 decimal places. So effective interest rate basically means on the calculator, we have to find out I over Y. So first of all, our N is equal to the difference between issue date and maturity, which is 8 years. Because it is annual bond, we are not dividing by 2. I over Y, we have to find out, so I'll skip that. Our present value is how much the company got by selling this bond, by issuing this bond. This company got 99.534% of 1,000. Of 1,000. So that basically means 934, 995.34. And this company has to pay it off, so negative 10. Future value is at the end of the bond, this company has to pay the face value, which is $1 million, so negative 1 million. Negative because the company has to pay. Now compute I over Y. So you should get 1.061. It is asking about 3 decimal places. So 1.061%. What amount of interest expense does the company report related to these bonds for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2019? What amount of interest expense does the company report? So it is talking about interest expense reported on the income statement. Now, remember this $10 million, that is the cash interest payment. But because the bond is a discount bond, in other words, the selling price of the bond is not the same as the face value, the interest expense on the income statement will be different from the cash interest expense. So it will be your carrying value multiplied by the market rate. So your carrying value is this times 1.061. So this is in percent. So I'll just divide this by 100. So 10.56, that is for 1 year, right? Now remember, it is asking year ended December 31st, and It was issued on May 7. So what we are going to do, we'll multiply this by 8 and then divide by 12, because there are 8 months actually during which the bond was outstanding, not the 12 months. So from May to December. So I'll multiply this by 8 and then divide by 12. So it is 7.04. Moving on to the next question, which will be question 8. So Abington Company issues $280,000, 9% bonds, pay interest semi-annually, mature in 10 years, compute the bond issue price. Assuming the prevailing market rate of interest is 8% per year compounded semi-annually, 10% per year compounded semi-annually. So, excuse me. So for A, what we have here is issues $280,000, 9% bonds, pay interest semi-annually, mature in 10 years. So N is equal to 10 times 2, 20, semi-annually and 10 years. Now I over Y, which is a market interest rate, is 8% divided by 2, semi-annual. And then we have to find out the bond issue price. We have to find out payment. So I'll skip the present value. And then a payment is equal to our face value, which is 280,000, times the annual interest rate, the coupon rate, which is 9%, so 0.09, all divided by 2. So which will be let me redo this. So 12,600, because the company is paying this amount, it will be a negative value. And then the future value is negative face value, which is 280,000. So if we do this and compute present value, we should get $299,026. So if you follow the same process for part B, you should get 262,553. Moving on to the next question, which is question 9. Question 9. So we have multiple questions here. So what we have to do, complete the missing information. Do not use negative signs. So for the first form, this is the missing information. So you have to find out the present value. So our N is years to maturity, 15 years. And this is annual yield. So N is equal to 15. And then I over Y is equal to 8. And then present value we have to find out. So let's skip that. Our PMT is equal to our face value, which is 400,000 times our coupon rate, which is 7%, which will be 28,000. And because the company is paying this, it will be a negative sign. And then future value is the negative of the face value. So if you do this and compute present value, you should get 365,416. So I made a mistake here because although it says annual yield, here it is saying interest is semi-annual. So you have to adjust these numbers for semi-annual. So N is equal to 15 times 2, which will be 30. And then I over Y is equal to 8 by 2, which will be 4 PMT negative 14,000. So you don't have to adjust the future value because this is just at the end of the maturity. Now, if we calculate this, you should get 365,416 to the nearest whole number. So farm 2, so this was about farm 1. For farm 2, we have to find out the face value, which means the future value. So our n is equal to 20. So 10 times 2, 20. Our I over y is equal to 3%, 3 divided by 2, which is 1.5. And then our present value is equal to how much the company got by selling the bond, 631,100. Our payment is equal to negative our coupon rate is equal to 0. So there is no payment actually. So, and then future value, we have to find out. So if you compute future value, you should get $850,000. $850,000. So that is it for our module 7 lecture video. I hope you guys benefit from this. I will see you in the next lecture video. Take care. Bye.